Hello, everyone. Oops, sorry about that. Welcome to the fourth presentation of Boris FX Virtual SIGGRAPH. We have a really fun presentation today. We're going to hang out with Brendan O'Neill from Bonfire, and he's going to show us how he uses Unreal and Flame to finish commercials. So really excited about getting into this presentation. Before we get started, wanted to let everyone know about a new product we are offering right now called the Boris FX Suite. We launched this earlier this week. The Boris FX Suite is an annual subscription to every single thing we sell. So we're talking a multi-host subscription to Sapphire, Continuum, Mocha Pro, standalone and plugins, Silhouette, and the new Optics, which is a cool new set of plugins for Photoshop. So the Boris FX Suite is usually $12.95, but we are running a SIGGRAPH special for $9.95 to get every single thing we make in one nice package. Please enter the code SIG20 at checkout, and you can take advantage of that great deal. And this is a great segue into that. One of our lucky viewers today will be winning a annual subscription to the Boris FX Suite. So how you enter that is you go to borisfxlive.com and enter in your email, and you will be entered to win a annual subscription to the Boris FX Suite. We will pick out one of you all who's out there watching, and we'll let you know at the end of the stream who's walking away with that great prize. Like, subscribe, share, say hello on chat, say hello on YouTube. Let us know where you're from. We love to hear you out there. Feel free to ask questions during the stream. We have our friends at Boris FX are behind the scenes monitoring the chat, and Ross and I both will be looking at the chat too, and we'll be able to bring your questions live into the presentation. So without further ado, I would my pleasure to introduce Brendan O'Neill from Bonfire. Hello, Brendan. How are you today?
Doing well. How are you, Brian?
Good. I mean, we've been live on the internet all day, so I'm drinking coffee. I'm great. Joining us, as always, too, as a guest panelist, Mr. Ross Shane. What's up, Ross?
Hey guys, great to see you. I think I'm on my third or fourth coffee myself today, but Brendan, thanks a lot for joining us. We're happy to have you here as a guest. So yeah, it's gonna be fun.
Cool.
Definitely.
Let's do it.
Yeah, so I thought I'll just kick it off. Obviously everyone here knows us as Boris FX, developers of Sapphire, Mocha, Continuum, Silhouette. We have lots of great tools. One area that we've been really interested in is Unreal Engine and the inroads that Epic is making into film and motion graphics. And we have a lot of customers that are exploring these workflows. If anyone caught the previous session earlier, Jonathan Wimbush, who's an After Effects and some 4D artist, he showed how he's incorporating Unreal Engine into his workflow to take advantage of the amazing platform, real-time rendering, and things like that. And we caught up with Brendan recently, who's a Sapphire user and a Flame artist, and we heard that Brendan himself is actually in his company is working with Unreal as well. So we thought it would be a cool time to sync up and see what you're up to. So Brendan, I'm just curious, who are you? Where do you come from? And how did you get into this crazy business?
I started skating when I was really young. So me and my friends made a lot of skate videos. So we were editing on Premiere when we were 10 and 11, and we just kind of kept with it through college, I guess. I don't really know. It was weird. But I liked it a lot, and I didn't know what else to do with my life. And I wanted to make my mom mad. So I decided to go do something in the arts. I don't know. I mean, I went to college for it. I liked it a lot. I had an advisor that was the founding kind of visionary behind Fern Gully, if you remember that animated film. He had a lot of sort of pioneering moments in animation and sort of emerging tech back then. And, he was a big inspiration for me, and he kind of influenced me to kind of dive into, visual effects, Maya, things like that when I was younger. And also I remember when I was working in the ad agencies as an intern, Asylum Visual Effects, which is no longer around, came in for a pretty, typical presentation at the time. But for me, it blew my mind, and I was just so amazed by all the things they were doing. And that you could animate trees popping up on an island and a bottle of Corona could come out of the sand. It was like amazing. So for me, that was really like when I knew I wanted to do it. And, I graduated and got a job at the mill as a runner and then worked my way up and, did Smoke Flame and started Bonfire 4 years ago. And ever since then, we've just kind of been doing a lot of different things and it's hard to sort of stay in one area. But, Unreal has been a big game changer for us in a lot of respects. And, there's a lot of misconceptions, I think, around it as well, which is one of the things that Boris FX has kind of helped us with, because a lot of times people think that you can get just beautiful images straight out of Unreal Engine and that they look perfect, which isn't ever really true. You always have to bring it in and work on top of it and refine it. And, that's one of the things that Boris FX and Sapphire specifically really helps us do well, because it allows us a lot of creative flexibility. And once we dive in, I'll show you guys, some of the UI helpful things that, allow us to go through a lot of the different presets and tools to start building your effects and plugins to help us kind of very quickly visualize what it is that we're kind of doing in a way that, is very similar to some of the other programs, but it does it better, in my opinion, than things like Resolve, like the bridge and along things like that. It allows you, and we'll show you soon, just how to visualize everything. It's just easy. And also, not that we're going to get into it today, but, paint, silhouette, those things are also very useful too, because, and I'll show you, a lot of the renders from Unreal have a lot of issues. They end up with a lot of glitches, a lot of, sample rate issues, a lot of, things that need to be cleaned up. So, we do a lot of cleanup with, Sapphire, when we can, but then, we'll jump into, paint when necessary to kind of really hit it a little bit harder. And then in combination, obviously, with Flame and all the other tools that it comes with, it really allows us to do quite a lot, especially for pitches, we find. It really has a lot of creative flexibility to make some very beautiful frames very, very quickly.
And the work that you guys, that Bonfire, and for those not familiar, Bonfire is a creative studio in New York City. The work that you guys specialize in, is that generally commercials, high-end commercials, or are you doing episodes as well?
We do film in TV, mainly episodic stuff, like HBO shows and things like that, visual effects oriented, CG. But we do mostly high-end commercial work, ad agencies directly to brand, directors come straight to us sometimes.
Reel now. We're looking at your reel now, which is some beautiful work.
Yeah, fantastic work.
And
music videos as well.
Say that again?
I said music videos as well.
Yeah, I mean, when they can pay the bills. But music videos are a little trickier these days. I'm sure everybody knows that. We do like to do them, obviously, for the right client, and we have also been looking into using Unreal a lot, also for music videos, because of the cost differential to sort of make a long form project like that happen in a short amount of time. It can be very expensive, and a lot of times budgets are small. So Unreal allows us to do a lot, like I said, under a short amount of time. So it can consolidate a lot of the workload that needs to be done for things like music videos or, pitch work, or it just really depends on the context. Every situation is different, but we find that using Unreal and Sapphire really allows us to get some very interesting looks very quickly, which helps our clients kind of decide what they want very quickly, which lets our team get started very quickly.
Right, Brendan,
it's a beautiful
breaking my
reel.
heart. Yeah, I know. I was going to say, you are breaking my heart with that Kyrie Irving Celtics replacement jersey. I mean, literally just crushing my soul. Just crushing my soul right in front of you. Beautiful work. Just like, I look at this reel and it's just classic Flame work, high-end, beautiful finishing, super glossy. What other tools are you guys using besides Unreal and Flame, or is it mostly Flame?
We use a lot of Nuke. Gene Nazarov is our head of CG, one of the main creative directors here, as well as Aaron Baxter. They're using a lot of, like I said, Nuke, a lot of Adobe platform-based things like After Effects, Premiere. We're also using a lot of Houdini, Maya, Cinema 4D, things along those lines. But again, one of the benefits of us with all of the Boris FX plugins is that, for the OFX-based workflow, we can really incorporate them into the majority of the softwares we're using. So they're not just being used in Flame, they're being used in our Nuke composites, they're being used in our After Effects comps, they're being used, kind of all over the place. Sometimes it's just Paint, that we're using as a standalone product versus the NoFX plugin. It just depends, really on the case use. So we're kind of using Boris in every thing we do, just, really depends on what it is that product is going to do for us in that given context.
Cool.
Can't hear you,
Sorry,
Ross.
I didn't mean to cut you off already. Didn't mean to cut you off. Oh, you're muted, Ross.
Yeah, no, sorry about that. I muted myself. What I was going to say is we're getting very close to you sharing some of your, the project you've been messing around with in Unreal. But do you want to just share, Brendan, a little bit like how long you've been exploring Unreal Engine, and maybe just touch on the learning curve and what it's been like to bring this new tool to your studio?
Yeah, I mean, I've heard different things from different people, but as a Flame and Nuke artist, I think it's been pretty straightforward. There's obviously a learning curve that comes with it, but I found that, a lot of the parameters are very similar to After Effects. The node-based blueprint editor, material editor is similar to Nuke. And then a lot of the math is very similar to, what you'd find in Flame and Nuke. So it's interesting to translate a lot of the compositing skill sets into Unreal. I find personally that having a small base in 3D is really helpful as well, just because it allows you to understand like a lot of the different sort of ways of integrating, the models and how to get things in and out of the program, which is a big thing, being able to import and export straight from, Unreal into Nuke or into Flame, and then being able to apply, whatever OFX based, kind of additions we're doing on top of it. But, I think, like I said, for us, some of the things that I'd love to show you, we have some concept pitch stuff that we were working on for Porsche, and we have a short film that I'm kind of working on with a director right now, with some of those assets as well. That isn't finished at all yet, but we were able to ask for permission and take some of those things that we're working on and building and kind of kick out some test shots for you guys. And I'm going to show you guys kind of like how an example of what we can do, within the editor to build an effect or something like that. And, sort of what the differences can be from before and after of what you get out of Unreal versus like what you can take and do with it with Boris.
Sounds great. Let's go for it. Love to see your projects you're working on.
I don't know. It's just, you guys, let's see. Maybe I have to refresh it.
Yeah, why don't you try and you could reconnect on the call?
Cool.
Go on. Back up.
Cool. So you guys can see that?
Yep. Looks.
Cool. So, for example, this is a shot that, came straight out of Unreal, and, it's just sort of a preliminary thing that we put together. I put together just as like a move. We have a little basement room that we're working on, just, as a very concept thing right now. Some gears and stuff in there and some different electrical equipment. And, you'll see, I'm going to play this whole thing down just so you can see sort of some different examples of renders. And you'll notice some glitches and things in there, which I kept in there on purpose because I want you guys to see sort of some of the, limitations of Unreal, because there are limitations. And I think that it's important to understand that the workflow within Flame and Nuke in combination with Boris helps us kind of clean some of that stuff up. I think when you
Brendan,
look at some of the... Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. Can I ask you just to increase the size of your viewer so our viewers can see a little bit better of your workspace? Okay, awesome. Thanks.
Wow, that's great.
What's the FPS you're getting, just so I can make sure that you're good on that?
It seems to be streaming pretty well on my end.
Yeah, no, it looks we're probably at about 20
Cool.
or
All right.
18 to 20 or something.
So this is the
So
raw renders that came out of Unreal?
So
Okay.
these are raw renders, and like, you can kind of see there's like some glitchy things here and there, things that kind of occasionally will need to be cleaned up. And this is just to kind of show you guys sort of, something that I was able to do this morning, in a couple hours, put together these shots, like, just kind of animate some things and move some cameras around and just throw a couple lights in the scene. So
is this taking advantage? Is this taking advantage of the mega scans, or some of the newer UE4 stuff?
Yeah, so there's a lot of different mega scans in here and some high-end textures and things like that. We're just trying to sort of like, put something together to kind of just show you some of the different things that you can do, like, for, let's say, a previs, or, let's say, like, we're blocking out this film and we need to kind of, create something that the director can look at and understand what he might end up with at the end of the project. This is a good starting point for something for us, where we would, kind of put something together quickly within a day, maybe, or, even that's the speed with which it's helpful for us. But again, the benefit is that I can take some of these things and I'll show you some more finished, kind of polished frames afterwards, where you can kind of take some of these things, once you have more time, obviously, to sort of jump in and tweak a lot.
So you're kind of using this almost like somewhere in between a style frame and an animatic, but the actual project gets used. It's not like you're throwing away that and recreating it, right?
Exactly. And the benefit is that if you ever use it on set, we can export all of that camera data, we can export all those mats, we can even export passes through this if you want to get very selective and meticulous, and export a car mat, export a mat for the back, and then bring that in and use that in unison with the Sapphire products to sort of create more custom things, within the compositing scheme of, the UI that you guys use and all that stuff. It's very helpful. I'm going to jump in now to kind of show you guys what the UI looks like and kind of what some of the things that we can do within the scope of this. So this is kind of a boring shot, right? It doesn't look very amazing. It looks a little bit gamey. It's not very, cool. But when we get into Sapphire, you can start to add a lot of different things. And one of the benefits of using the OFX, if you're not familiar with it, in Flame, it's literally just the node you drag in, you attach it, and then you open it up. And then once you have everything installed, you can then go through here and find every single thing very easily. You've got all your distorts, your Sapphire lighting, your rendering, your stylized, whatever it is, as well as silhouette, which is another awesome thing to have straight in here. So with that said, before I show you some of these little things in here, one of the most awesome things about what we do with this is that we're able to load up the builder. And I love the builder more than anything, because the builder is like the dream for, these OFX plugins. You can just literally load a preset and it brings you into this UI. Can you, I guess I have to change, hold on.
You know what it is? It's probably that you're are you sharing the window and not the entire screen, because the builder may pop up in a separate window.
Yeah, it's cool. Probably. I'll just reconnect it. There we go. Screen. There we go. Cool.
There we go.
Great. So you guys can see that?
Yep. Looks great.
Cool. So this is the, the editor builder, and, you can see my shot here is underneath, and, we can literally toggle through every single one of these different presets. It's awesome. You can just like click on it. You can see whatever it is that you want to like kind of visualize and understand, what the base of it would be, and it goes from everything to, very like, kitschy effects to very high end, very like, beautiful color correct preset LUTs, lens flares, whatever it is that you need, you can kind of find in here. And it's great, like I said, for a number of things. So if, for example, in this case, I wanted to kind of create a custom look. So, I was able to bring in Sapphire Glint, and we'll add a little bit of extra lighting on top. And then built a custom effect here, to create sort of a sepia, old-timey kind of look, as well as with a sharpen. If you go into this preset, I'll show you kind of like how it works. So it's very similar to what you'd find in any node-based compositing platform. You have all of the same tools over here on the left, and you can bring them straight in and basically, tweak them as needed. And when you click on each one, as long as you have the preview, you can see what you're doing over here. And each time you can tweak it. Obviously, this is very heavy-handed, but I wanted it to be noticeable. But again, you can stack all of these different things on top of each other. So you can basically create one effect or tons of them all at the same time without having to bring them into Flame over and over and over again and stack them. But of course, you can do that if you want, and sometimes that's better because you're able to have a little bit more flexibility on a case-by-case basis. So we've got some glints. We've got, like I said, a custom build with some color, some glows, as well as some sharpening. We've got a light leak, which works kind of like a gradient, which is another thing that you can, a lot of different options like this. Simple color correct. And then I wanted to throw something a little bit more creative and artistic in there, just to kind of show you that there's a lot of other things that, you can use this for, not just from a enhancement perspective, because let's say you're sharpening this for real, right? And obviously this is insane, but let's say we wanted to take that back a little bit and, we're going to knock back that sharpen. Little too, not enough probably. All right. Yeah, that's better. So we pulled it back. It's a little bit more reasonable. Now we can kind of continue down the chain and look at all of the other things we've put in here. And again, this is that lighting effect, which is just one of many examples that you can pull from and tweak. And it can give you some very interesting things, some very ethereal results. You can use this for a dream sequence. There's a lot of different things that you can do with, these types of effects. And again, I can show you the before and the after. Maybe it's better to show you this one. Before, after, before, after. Now, this is obviously very heavy-handed, but it shows you some of the different tools in here. And again, just to sort of reiterate, you can go through so many different things. I've been hard-pressed to go through all of them yet. There's just so many. It's unbelievable. Yeah. And you can really create some very interesting stuff.
There is a lot. There is a lot.
There's so much. It's crazy, But I mean, for me, this is really helpful because I can just click on this and it's like, wow, that's a really stylized look. Like that helps me visualize this very quickly. I don't have to drag a color correct node in and tweak my RGB channels, tweak my levels, all these things. I can just go through this like a LUT editor almost in a way for some of these color things and look at a lot of different results very quickly. And I can see things, that I would have to build myself in Flame through various different sets of tools, which are very kind of complicated sometimes. So it's pretty helpful to have all of these different things sort of, at a moment's disposal, just being able to toggle between them all.
Two points I love to always point out a builder. Number one, like I always think of builder as like, it's like all of Sapphire jammed into one plugin.
Yeah.
It's almost like the Lord of the Rings joke, like one plugin to rule them all. It's like one Sapphire effect to rule them all. It can become anything. So it also includes every single Sapphire preset in one space. So that's where you get all those 3,000 presets jammed together. But you can look at things by groups, right? So you can look at just all the lighting effects, just all the color corrections. And the other point about Builder too is like, it's basically like the smartest way to render Sapphire. Like if you can think about that, like, if you're going to put multiple glints together or multiple Sapphire effects together, if you're doing that inside the builder, you're pretty much assuming that you're going to be doing it the fastest, most efficient way possible. So it's not like you're going to, save massive amounts of time doing a builder, but if there is time savings to be had, the builder's going to render it fastly. And I'm just psyched to see you using it in Flame because this is a new feature in Flame we added last year, and it's just great to see like Flame artists taking advantage of this functionality.
And also,
and After
like,
Effects been having for a while. Go ahead.
And I just want to let everybody else know too, even though we're focusing a lot on Sapphire, it's important to know that Boris FX Silhouette, is available just the same way. You just load that plugin, and then, you open the Silhouette interface, and you can literally, create a new project. I'm just going to name it whatever. And then bam, you're in, and you can start using Silhouette right in the OFX, environment within Flame. So it's really awesome that you can do this as well. But just to show you guys, these are some still frames we had for a pitch where we were able to use Sapphire to create some very interesting kind of looks for some energy fields and things like that. So this was sort of, a color-corrected version of something we were doing, and, we were able to add a lot of different kind of lights and glowing moments to this, which really helped add some magic to it on these stills, which brought some life to these things. And was very helpful for us when we were showing it to the client and the director, because, some things they loved and some things they hated, which is always kind of how it goes. So it was definitely very helpful. And this is, another thing.
Oh, Ross,
pardon?
You go ahead.
Sorry, there's a little delay, so we talk over each other. I just have a quick question from the viewing audience, and people are pretty excited to see what you're showing. One question was, do you ever render out passes out of Unreal? Like
yes,
a depth pass or yeah.
Yep, all the time. I will definitely, I don't want to spend too much time jumping into Unreal to show that, but I will definitely be doing another tutorial with Boris FX, just showing how you can kick out some of those passes, and then also use those passes with some of the Boris FX products, like, because within, just to remind everybody too, within this suite, you also have Sapphire Composite, which gives you, options within here to help with your compositing. So, when you have mats and things like that, your different passes, you can kind of actually build, your own custom comps, and then in unison with those comps, add the Sapphire tools, sort of in between the layers, or, if you want to, because for me, I love edge blur. Sapphire edge blur has always been one of my favorites, and it's always gotten slightly different results than the things that, you would get through a typical edge detect, and then, multiplying it through the mat and then blurring it a little bit. It just doesn't look the same. So you can add some of these subtleties to your render passes almost all along the way, and it's just an interesting way to do it because, like I said, some things that are coming out of Unreal aren't going to be perfect, but, you're able to with Flame and then, Silhouette, as well as some of the other things on top, like, Median and the other tools that kind of are great to use in unison with Flame. It just allows me to, make really beautiful images. And so sometimes, like I said, we'll use this just for previs. We won't worry about cleaning it up that much. But sometimes if I need to get a shot out for like a job, and, maybe it's one shot that they want and we need to get a product in there, we'll do it in Unreal. And then we'll do everything. We'll make it beautiful. We'll light it. We'll use the Boris FX to make it beautiful. And then we'll take that matte and we'll comp that back into the original plate footage so that, we have an element that we've pre-composited, within Flame using Boris FX that then gets recomposited via Flame into the actual spot. So there's a million different, levels of subdivision that go into kind of like the way that we use it. But here are some other examples of, some quick look devs. And again, I just want to stress that I was able to, once I had these frames picked out, I was able to put all of these frames together in an hour. So using Boris FX, going through, the builder and adding different, different plugin moments and things like that, and adding, specifically Glow is one of our favorites. Sapphire Glow is irreplaceable. You can't do anything without Sapphire Glow. So if you're looking to make something pretty, make sure you get that on there. But, for us, we were able to stack all these things, put these things together, and I was able to kick out, let's see how many of them are in here. I don't know, a lot, like 30 images or something like that. And every single one of them uses like 5 different Sapphire nodes. So for us, it was great. But yeah, passes come out all the time and it's helpful. But for the purposes of Boris, we like to kind of comp everything in Flame ahead of time with that and then kick it out as a final.
Very cool.
Very cool. Yeah.
Have you played or looked into, bringing a camera in or a camera that, say, exporting a camera out of Flame. I know there can be a lot of different workflows to play with to make sure that your data comes across between every application.
Sure. We tend not to kick cameras from Flame out, but sometimes we'll have cameras come from Maya, where our CG team will build those cameras and then kick them back out to Unreal. We'll bring them in and we'll use those cameras as our base. However, a lot of times now, these camera rooms are being built in Unreal. So whether we're on set using LED, whether we're using a green screen to do, a virtual production thing where we can visualize in context the shoot, even though it's on a green screen. A client can sit there, look at the monitor, and see all of the characters and all of the environments that we've built in Unreal, kind of working in tandem at the same time in real time. Even though the actor can't see it necessarily, the client can see the actor live composited off of the green screen into these environments. And by doing that, in various different kind of scenarios, we're able to bring the camera straight off set into Flame and then use that directly in unison with Boris effects. And it's very helpful when it comes to doing things like painting and when it comes to, kind of trying to get some stabilizations and along those lines, which, again, we'll show at a later date with the Silhouette plugin and sort of how that ties into the workflow as well. But we do quite a bit of that, yeah.
So it sounds like you're definitely diving headfirst into virtual production. Do you want to share any thoughts about, where you see virtual production going, or for those, or maybe even just for those in the audience who haven't really heard about it, maybe just give us your thoughts on what it's all about.
Virtual production is a very deep bag. It's complicated. There's a lot of variables to it, but at the base level, everybody knows The Mandalorian. The television show that if you're not familiar with it, Disney put out. It's based on Star Wars, and it's very popular. But they used a massive green screen set in various studios, to shoot the majority of their content. And this is where the misconception comes in. People think they shot it all there and it was done, but that's not true. There was so much visual effects, so much CG, so much compositing, so many things that went into that after the shoot that needed to be cleaned up on top of. So there's a lot of visual effects, a lot of artistry, a lot of compositing done, still within the scope of that, despite this LED phenomenon. And it's definitely very useful. But I think that virtual production is more about efficiency than it is about specifically LED or the tech at hand that we're talking about. It's about a faster way to do the same job for a not cheaper, but more cost effective, I would say. You want to use virtual production in specific situations. You want to, use an LED screen when it makes sense. You want to use a green screen when it makes sense. But at the end of the day, I think virtual production is really going to become mainstream. With COVID and just a lot of other things, it's got some very interesting ways to accomplish things that used to be very difficult. And I think that with all of the tools playing nicely together, and with a company that can, kind of create a bridge of a sort that can kind of put the tools within Unreal, Houdini, Maya, Flame, Nuke, all kind of intermerged into the same sort of environment, into the, let's say, metaverse, as Tim Sweeney would like to call it. It allows you to sort of, I think at that point, really kind of consolidate workflows and streamline things in a way that you've never really been able to do before. That's where you're going to notice, I think, a big shift, where people are going to be doing work faster, better, and they're going to be able to spend more time on the actual creative and the beauty of it, which is why I love Sapphire products so much, is because it's all about refinement, all about beauty, all about those little tweaks and those glows and those tiny moments that you want to create from these images. And so for us, we find virtual production allows us to get a lot of technical data right out of the gate that we would previously have had to either worry about after the fact, or it would be a big lingering question where we would have to be doing not just the technical development, but also the creative R&D and the look development and the creating of all the assets all at the same time. So now there's a new way of doing things where we can do a lot of the pre-visualization, the work up front, use the Sapphire effects to make things beautiful, have the client sign off on it, know exactly what they're going to get 85% of the way there. And then we go on set and we shoot it, and then we bring it back in. We take all that same data, all those same effects that we already used, we work on top of them. And we already have an amazing product right out of the gate that, we can sort of start to refine from there. And instead of spending, a week doing the build of the composite, we can spend 2 days, and then we can spend the rest of the time in Sapphire and in the other parts of the job making things look amazing.
Yeah, it's a cool. I appreciate you sharing that perspective, because I think that virtual production has been a very buzzworthy topic, in the last six months to a year. And so, actually, someone's asking in the chat right now, saying, even with virtual production and the LED studios, is there still a need for post processing? And just using the Mandalorian as an example. I've talked to many artists who actually used Mocha in Silhouette for roto, for cleanup on the Mandalorian. So, and I love that project, and I'm not knocking anyone or any process in that project. But the reality is that when you're shooting live action, no matter whether it's green screen or an LED, there is a lot of post work involved, right? In this, I mean, all the hidden stuff where we're, Frankensteining performances, and there's so much, post work is done in production all around that it's not like the traditional post tools and traditional post processes are going to be going away or be usurped by the virtual productions.
Not right now, not for a while at least. There's a lot of work that needs to be done on top of things, and even LED screens sometimes have their own problems where you have to clean stuff up on top of it, like moire patterning and different things like that. So there's variables across the board that require work, and one thing that becomes a solution for somebody becomes a problem for somebody else. So it just becomes this evolution where we're always trying to get closer to the most efficient workflow, the most efficient way to do things without sacrificing quality. And I think this is a step in the right direction, but it's important to note that it's definitely not a one-stop shop solution. It requires a lot of people to work on top of it after the fact. Even still, it's just a slightly different way of working with some benefits. But compositors are still needed. You still need roto artists. You still need matte painters and people that are, very important to the process and always have been. And that won't change. It'll just shift a little bit in terms of, who's doing what and how they're doing it. I think that the other thing is that cost too. Virtual production right now is not always less expensive. Sometimes it's more expensive. And it really just depends on your use. Mandalorian had a massive amount of things to shoot. So it made sense. Financially, when you have a budget in the millions, they can break that up and do it in a way that makes a lot of sense to do it between multiple sets with LED and a lot of those things. When you have 1 day shoot with a client where you need to go and shoot 2 setups, it doesn't make sense. And it might be cool, but it's not the right situation or the solution right now. So there's a lot of hype around it, but it's going to be an evolution. And I think that, people are going to be figuring out still now how to use these tools and these products. And, hopefully Boris FX will be right there helping us figure it out.
Yeah, it's definitely a fun time, and I think you're seeing a lot of things happening really quickly. And you're also seeing things like motion capture suits are coming way down in price. The ability to get like Vive controllers on cameras, and we've talked to people and seen people who are building their own smaller virtual production set. So it's a really interesting time. I'm personally just kind of excited about the idea, in a sense of like, I think about like the history of film, and back in original filmmaking, early visual effects was done in camera or shooting through glass, matte paintings, and the idea of different types of artists being on set, that's pretty exciting to me. So it's definitely interesting as this whole thing kind of evolves.
Yeah, I think like I said, it's going to be interesting to see how these tools come together. I think that the bridge is going to be an important part of it. Putting it all kind of together so that they work well. And I think that's one of the things that we like here at Bonfire about the different tools is that with Boris FX, we can jump from Adobe platform products to Nuke to Flame, and we can use the same products within the same workflow, but on different applications. And so it's very useful because especially if I need to add, let's say, a Sapphire glow into my Porsche scene here, and then we have an After Effects artist that needs to work on something as well. We're able to kind of understand what things are going to look like a little bit better, between the platforms because we're using the same tools. Even if the math is slightly different, it's very similar. So it's helpful. And I think that, we are using Boris FX kind of like this, I don't even know how to call it. It's like it's like a weird middle ground world for us where everything kind of passes through Boris FX, in some way. But
I know what you
you
mean.
know,
It's like a
we're
hub.
also still developing those workflows to kind of like put them all together. It works pretty well right now, but I think that with Unreal, it's a new world. So we're kind of trying to bridge that gap.
And we're trying we are, as a team internally at VFX, we're very aware of the way people are using our products and within the ecosystem of the post-production applications, right? So that's one of the reasons why we added OCIO, for example, color management to Sapphire and to Mocha this year, so that a color managed workflow is that your colors are going to match when you're apply a lens flare in any of the applications, they're going to match, and things like that. And I like what you said about the idea of sort of everything passing through it. For example, if you use Mocha and Silhouette for tracking in Roto, you have a universal tracking and spline format that can export to almost any application. So that's really where we're trying to add value on our end.
Yeah, it's great. If we have an After Effects artist that needs to like visualize their comp, with, a screen comp, let's say, that After Effects artist is able to take that track, whether it's from us or them, vice versa. And, they can kind of use that on their end for the preliminary comp, make sure their animations are working in unison for their screens, make sure all the buttons and things are sliding correctly. And then they just kick that back out. We know it'll line up, and then it comes right into Flame, and we're good to go.
It's
very cool.
It's very on the same.
So do you have any other shots you wanted to show us? Sorry, Brian.
So I just wanted to add in, it's also why we love OFX, right? It's why we love this open API. Obviously, Sapphire for 20 years has been Sapphire Sparks. We've moved away from that in the past. One of the main reasons internally why we love the move away from Sparks, to OFX is to be able to exactly that, have the same plugin be in Nuke that is in Flame, so be able to share presets between the two, be able to share lens flares between Flame and Nuke and Resolve and have it be the exact same image that's produced. We always ran into issues with Sparks being an outlier for that. So having it be
ever
this,
since you guys introduced format, OFX is great. It's really, really, really helpful. And it doesn't crash. I remember when, not with you guys specifically, but with some other plugins that I had that were OFX based, they would crash quite a lot, especially within VFXs. But nowadays, it's pretty solid, which...
you're always dependent upon the host application's implementation of OFX. And obviously, no surprise to anybody that, the Flame team did a great job putting in OFX, even supporting things like Builder, which is, from a developer standpoint, this crazy idea of one plugin with 18,000 parameters that are dynamic and can change. So, remember, talking with them at the original and thinking there's no way that this is going to be possible. But those guys do such a great job getting something like OFX into Flame. We're really happy with the result.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I can't stress enough how important the Builder is for us, just on so many levels. We're able to, just toggle through so many different things. And I know that sounds cliche or maybe undervalued, but for me, it's really helpful because, whenever I have a director in here and, we do color correct a lot too here at Bonfire. And, even though it's not on this machine per se, we're able to just really go through a lot of different, artistic looks and things. And, if the director or the client, doesn't know what they want, it is a godsend to be able to go through this because, I can really quickly say, hey, do you want to go black and white, or do you want color? Do you want, there to be some sort of, bittersweet mystery, as this one is called, associated with it. There's just a lot of, and these are very beautiful. These are things that would take me time to make. These are stylized LUTs basically for us. And so I use these as well all the time for color correction and things like that. So I don't know, it's hard for me to break this down into one way to use it because it's just, there's so many things we use within the suite, whether it's all of these different color passes to, mess with a shot, whether it's, trying to figure out if, we wanted to do something in, a painted style, or, there's some great cartoon, different examples within, Sapphire stuff that you can use to really do some awesome things. And, of course, the lighting and the glows, those are, just sort of the bread and butter of the Sapphire that make things just look awesome. And so for us, whether, even though this effect maybe on its own might not look interesting, what about the interior edges? We might use those little blue edges here and here and here, as a comp element, and these are things that we use all the time out of Sapphire.
Yeah, glow ring's one of my favorites. It never ceases to amaze me. Like people using
Glow
glow
rings.
rings. Like, yeah,
I mean, you can stack all these things. Say that again?
Yeah, glow darks.
Glow darks was back when I used to be in production. I used to love glow darks, and I was using Sapphire before the builder came out. This is a while back, but I always knew there was going to be, like, in almost every spot I did, there was like a sweet combination of 4 plugins that are always used together. So to be able to save that as one effect, that's very cool.
Yeah. We had a question from the audience about saving presets too. Just so, look, obviously, anything Brendan does, he can save his own little custom presets. Those presets can be shared. And usually about every version of Sapphire, we always add in some new presets. So we work with people like Brendan, or people like John Dickinson, or who use this stuff in production. They'll create a little custom effect. We'll save that and we'll include that with every release of Sapphire. So we're always adding in new builder presets. Ben Brownlee, our favorite Ben, who's directing all our live streams today, has created quite a few builder presets for us as well.
You can just stack as many things as you want, and of course you've got your front back matte, as it would be for Flame, similar as every other compositing node-based program, and you can just drag in whatever you want, and then once you've got your effect that you really like, you just go and save as, and you can just load it in every time. And so for me, it's helpful because I can either drag and drop the VFX onto each clip. I can load this preset into my batch if that's what I'm doing. I can take this from one machine and bring it all the way to like another machine. I can send it to another artist, and it's a preset thing. There's just a lot of different things you can do with this. But once you save it, and you can even do available characteristics, which is really awesome too over here. You can just use it over and over and over again. And I think, that's one of the cool things, is dragging and dropping the looks and then tweaking them afterwards, because we can build, a color correct, a color correct, a sharpen, as well as, some lighting effects and some glows all within the same frame. And then I can just, open it up on, let's say, the next one. And even though, let's say, maybe the shot is totally different, much darker, it'll come right in exactly the same way. And then we can just start to sort of tweak it a little bit from there, but it'll be the same thing. And, we know that it's all going to kind of match, which is really helpful.
That's a great way of putting it. There's also like a completely way that people use Builder, like in a different way, which is like you can control obviously what parameters from a Sapphire effect come back into Flame from Builder. So you can turn off and turn on any sort of parameter. That's the concept of like building a plugin. So you'll get some people who just use S-Glow every day, and they're sick of seeing like a bunch of pages of parameters. And I just tell them, like, just turn them all off and just have brightness, threshold, and width. And now you've made Brendan's glow, with just parameters he cares about,
Totally. And it's like a mini action almost, with effects, which is why it's great, because it's like a self-contained module, with all of these effects. Whereas like, before I would have to go through and break every single thing out, into a big batch tree, and I would have to go looking for it. And, that can get very complicated when you've got a lot of stuff going on. So it's great to have one place where we can go in and just look at all of the different effects that are happening on, one node. It cleans it up. It's much more efficient.
Wouldn't it be great, Ross, if we had Mocha inside Builder? wouldn't that be fantastic?
Oh yeah.
Please wave your magic wand and make that happen.
What did you say?
Great. Please wave the magic wand and make that happen. Well,
we do have Mocha Pro available for Flame as well, of course, which I know a lot of people have been excited about. That we added the Gmask tracer format this past year. That was a long request for a couple of years. That when Flame changed the Roto format, so we do support that now with Mocha Pro, which is great.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
So how are we doing for time, Brian?
All right. We're right about at that time to announce the winner of the Boris FX suite. All right. Let me see if I can even see this. I need glasses. Deborah, and I'm not even going to try and pronounce your last name as Ben, thank you, has typed it out on the screen for me. Sangermono, Deborah Sangermono, congratulations. Deborah wins an annual subscription to the Boris FX suite. So she gets everything Brendan's shown here with Sapphire. It's multi-host Sapphire. She gets Continuum, Mocha Pro, Silhouette Paint, and the new Optics, which, Brendan, I don't even know if you know this, but like, so Optics is a new Photoshop plugin we created, which takes OFX plugins. So you can get Sapphire now in Photoshop, which is
awesome.
Which is really cool. Yeah. You know, even when I create a lot of still frames, I'm constantly going to After Effects to use Sapphire lens flares, and now I can do it all within Optics right in Photoshop. So, when did we come out with that, Ross? That was last month.
Yeah, 5 weeks ago. Yeah.
Cool.
Brendan, thanks so much. I mean, for joining us today. I mean, I'm excited to see more of your Unreal work as you kind of dive more into it. So, you know, we really appreciate your time.
Yeah, thanks for having us. You know, we always appreciate chatting with you guys. We've been using your stuff for a long time, so.
Yes, keep up the good work, man. It's fun to watch from afar. You guys produce amazing work, and it's great to have a chance to talk with you, and it's great just to hear your thoughts on the industry and virtual production, anything. So it was a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Yeah, man. Well, look forward to chatting again, and hopefully we can do this soon.
Yeah, look forward to hanging out in New York in person. You know, and
I don't know if you want to right now, but
I want to.
Nothing's open, man.
Cool. Awesome. Okay, well, thank you so much, Brendan. Coming up next at 6:00 today, we have John Dickinson, who will be walking us through the new features in Particle Illusion. If you guys aren't familiar, Particle Illusion is a part of the Continuum suite. It is a particle generator that's part of Continuum, and it also has a standalone, which is free. We are adding in some exciting new features, including 3D camera support into Particle. So please come back in a half an hour and tune in as John Dickinson walks us through the new features in Particle Illusion. And once again, if anyone is interested in getting a subscription to the Boris FX suite, it is on sale right now for $9.95 as part of a special SIGGRAPH sale we're having. Enter the code SIG20 in the Boris FX store to get 12 months of everything we make for $9.95. Okay, so thank you, Brendan, so much. Excellent presentation. We appreciate it as always. And we will see everyone in a half an hour for Particle Illusion with John Dickinson. Thank you so much. We'll see you all in a little bit.